Hello! It's almost Halloween again, and you know what that means? You're going crazy. No! No! I am going to do another one of my reviews! Okay, I might be a little bit crazy. Why are you, well, why am I, why are you, why me, why do another review? You already screwed up Deadly Friend or My Deadly Friend or whatever it is. Oh, I need to fix this. Come on. Anyway. What was I doing again? Anyway, it's time for another Raw Reviews, in which my body cannot be contained by the frame! Okay, that was a little bit weird. But I will review a film. Actually, I'm going to review 2 films! 2 for the price of 1. I will indulge myself into 2 horror classics, just in time for Halloween. Well, classic in a very loose term. They're Herschell Gordon movies, for crying out loud, but still fun nonetheless. And those 2 happen to be Bloodfeast and 2000 Maniacs. First off, Bloodfeast! Precisely 1963's Bloodfeast. That's right, it was made in 1963. And in it is a lot of gore. This film, if rated today, would be rated R, which of course you're probably saying, how would it have been possible in 1963? Well, this was an exploitation film made under the Hollywood system, which of course meant that it kind of slipped past the Hays Code, since this was in that really weird phase in between the rating system, the Hays Code and the rating system, when things were kind of... But anyway, that's not important. What is important is, well, what it's about. Okay, maybe that's not even that important either, but what is Bloodfeast about? It's about a killer named Fahud Ramzi, who worships an Egyptian deity named Ishtar. What? For those of you who have read the Epic of Gilgamesh, you are probably scratching your heads right now, seeing as Ishtar is not an Egyptian deity, goddess, you know. She's a Sumerian... Let me say it again. She is a Sumerian... She is a Sumerian deity. Samaria and Egypt, that ain't the same place. Guy thinks Ishtar is an Egyptian goddess and he kills for her. You'd think that's probably because he's an idiot. Guy's a professor of Egyptian archaeology. Seriously. Seriously. Did I say seriously? On Ramsey's trail is Detective Thornton, I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but who is played by Bill Kerwin. See, the other thing messed me up, But Bill Kerwin, who was in a lot of Herschell Gordon Lewis movies, plays the cop that is trying to get Ramsey. Kerwin's character is dating a young woman named Suzette, who is played by former playmate Connie Mason. It seems a kind of odd pairing, though, as Mason was in her early 20s and even at the time looked like she was still in high school, whereas Bill Kerwin was in his mid to late 30s. But then again, it's a Herschell Gordon Lewis movie that was made in the 60s. You really can't try and question these odd things, really. But the one who brings the world between Suzette and Bill Kerwin's character with Ramsey's is Suzette's mother, who hires Ramsey's to decorate Suzette's birthday party. Isn't he a Egyptian archaeological professor? Why, yes, he is! And he's a killer, but nobody knows about that. Unlike the archaeology thing. Correct. Correctamundo. So, Fahud Ramzi, available for birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, other events and killings. Or so it seems that way. You really have to make that joke. It's so obvious to make that joke. Why are you looking at the camera? Ignore them! So anyway, it leads to the denouement of the film, in which Ramses is at Suzette's party. And of course, Bill Kerwin's character ends up being there too, and a lot of stuff happens, and of course, Ramses gets taken and arrested. Or is he? Or is he? You'll have to go see the film. I don't really want to ruin the ending, so to say, even though I've only given a general outline. But let me tell you, it has if you are a gore hound, this has a lot of gore. If you like weird acting, I wouldn't even call it bad, just weird, then yeah, go check this film out. If you're a fan of camp, you're gonna like this. If you're a fan of garish Technicolor and inappropriate films, this is your film. If you want a film that doesn't take itself seriously and is an obvious horror comedy that's set in the rural South, this isn't your film. The film you want is 2000 Maniacs! Not to be confused with its own remake, 2001 Maniacs, which was made a couple of years earlier. This film rejoins Herschell Gordon Lewis with Connie Mason and Bill Kerwin. Although this time, instead of a weird guy obsessed with Egyptians, you have a whole town full of crazy Southerners. Southerners! Southerners! You see, in this movie, Bill Kerwin's character ends up having a flat tire or something wrong with his car. I don't remember which, but basically Connie Mason picks him up. Which is really interesting because most of the reviews I've seen, people seem to think it's the other way around, but I swear it's the way I just described it. Or is it? Anywho, they end up going into this small town that's having its 100th anniversary. That's called a centennial. I know that, but they might not know. Ignore them! Anyway, so it's the centennial, in which them and a bunch of other random Yankees end up in the same town during the centennial, are greeted by an overweight, stereotypical mayor, who's like saying a lot of times, "We like your Yankees, 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 Yankees. Stop it!" So anyway, it's the centennial, and as time goes off, each one of the Yankees gets killed one by one. I'm not going to tell you every single one, but one that does particularly stand out really well, besides the scene where they end up eating somebody who had previously been killed, is a scene in which somebody is tied to two horses and ripped apart. This is fascinating to me because I love a great Hong Kong action, well, I wouldn't call it action movie, but Hong Kong Wei Fu, I'm not good with pronunciation, but great Wei Fu film by Chang Che called The Heroic Ones. And in The Heroic Ones, there's a similar scene, just done slightly better. Well, immensely better in that, and in some ways, less suggestive and just kind of explicit. Even though it happens underneath a tent, whereas Herschell Gordon Lewis kind of uses some weird editing style. But it's amazing because The Heroic Ones was made several years after 2000 Maniacs. And while I doubt Chang Che would have seen some obscure exploitation film from America, it's kind of interesting that both films have a similar scene. Just shot very differently, but the same idea is there. Somebody gets ripped apart by being tied to horses. Then there's an awesome scene in which somebody gets a boulder thrown on them. That's right, a boulder. And there's even a POV shot. All in all, it doesn't take the gore seriously, unlike Bloodfeast. And as such, well, now that I think about it, not just the gore. The whole thing really isn't make any attempt at being serious. It's just a comedy. Unlike Bloodfeast, which you can only really enjoy either as gore, camp, or just really bizarre acting. And interestingly enough, both Bill Kerwin and Connie Mason are much better actors in this one. And did I mention that Connie Mason this time doesn't look like she's still in high school, but actually looks her age. And Bill Kerwin doesn't seem to look as old as he... Well, okay, maybe he actually does. But their pairing doesn't seem as forced. Unlike the ending. Okay, I have to admit, while I love the ending, it comes out of nowhere. Basically, you find out with no build-up whatsoever that the whole town was inhabited by ghosts, and that the town itself basically vanishes. And that they do this kind of thing like every 100 years. Which I guess would mean this is like the first time they do it. But they basically talk about, let's do it again in another 100. I mean, it's just kind of a weird, out of nowhere kind of thing. Who it works this way? Only a madman like Herschell Gordon Lewis, I suppose. And with that, is my reviews of both Bloodfeast and 2000 Maniacs. I would like to let you all know I had already previously attempted to do this, in which was not nearly as good as this. So if you think this was bad, there's a worse version of this that I haven't uploaded. But anyway, like I said, I like both Bloodfeast and 2000 Maniacs. They may not be great films, but they're at least entertaining. And they paved the way for the kind of horror films that would come for years to come. I'm screwing up my words, damn it! Have a happy Halloween.